Hey all, welcome back once again to my YouTube class. I'm Manjeet Rawat, your online instructor. This is another class of how to become system administrator. As you know that I have already uploaded more than 16 video in this particular playlist, and in previous class we talked about what is GPO and how we can configure group policy. We are still on the same page. We are working with server 2022, and we successfully installed the active directory domain services. We understand about the objects and containers, and now I'm going to guide you in today's session. I'm going to help you to understand about domain application, which is really important topic for every system administrator, right? So we'll discuss about each and every points related to domain application, means how many types of domain applications that we can establish over a server operating system. We'll also discuss about the procedure, how to create additional domain controller. We'll discuss about the different types of domain services which are available in server 2022, like as a GC, what is work of RODC, how we can set up DC controller. Lots of options that are available in our domain installation. I'm going to guide you each and everything. I'm moving myself to the screen, but before that, if you're new on my YouTube channel, if you're watching my video first time, please do subscribe, because Teach Me Cloud is a single technical training based YouTube channel that give you 100% live practical based video without skip any step. Right. So let me guide you about the agenda first. Agenda in the sense like prerequisite. If you are trying to understand, if you are trying to set up a domain application, so what are the prerequisites? So I hope you guys are able to see my screen. In case of domain replication, you know that as per the name suggests, the meaning of replication, you are trying to create a same copy of your resource, same copy of your server and services with another hardware, with another operating system. In our case, we have already established one domain controller with name of cloud.com, right? This is our domain that we installed on server 2022. Everything is okay. Active Directory services are working fine. Group policy management option available in our domain controller. And now we are trying to set up another copy of the same computer because we are trying to set up a replication. So the second machine that I'm going to create a ADC, which is considered as an additional domain controller. Whenever we establish the additional domain controller, it will copy the each and every information that you have already configured on your existing service, on your existing server. Let's take an example. You have already created a user with name of Tony. You created a user with name of Clark, maybe GCP. These all users are available with our root domain controller, and as it is multiple groups you created like demo grp, demo group. You already created one OU with name of test organizational unit, right? So whenever we set up the replica of our domain controller, whenever we establish our additional domain controller, it will copy or it will replicate the each and every services to our additional domain controller. Not only the user and objects, if any type of group policy that you configure, any kind of group policy that you set up with your primary domain controller, while set up our application, it will like replicate all the group policy services as well. Try to understand about the concept, how many types of domain replications are available. So in case of domain replication, it is categorized in two different parts, right? If we talk about the base of domain replication, so domain replication is divided into two different parts. One is intrasite replication. Okay, the first one is intrasite replication, and second one is intersite replication. And guys, huge gap between intersite replication and intrasite replication. As a system admin, it's our responsibility. We should know about the gap between intersite application and intrasite application. So let me try to guide you with the help of diagram, and we'll also move ourselves to the setup and try to establish our additional domain controller and prove that how intrasite application can perform that as. In our case, for example, you have already established one root domain controller with name of cloud.com, and the server operating system that we established, as we discussed before, server 2022. This is the operating system version we successfully install on on our base machine and install the service of cloud.com. Everything is working fine. I'm going to add one more machine with name of adc1.cloud.com, right? In the same environment, with the help of local area network, by using the private IP address, I'm going to add one more computer and install one more server operating system and install as an additional domain controller. One more machine I wanted to configure with name of adc2.cloud.com, right? So whenever we establish more than one domain controller in the same environment and all the domain controller are connected with the same root account, consider as a intra-site application. And in case of intra-site application, you can also consider it as a backup domain controller. So in this case, what exactly happened? It will replicate the services 24 by 7, and it will provide us a kind of a live replication. The meaning of live replication, if you are going to make any changes over a root domain controller, the same changes will immediately reflect to the additional domain controller 1 and additional domain controller 2. We have a two different method to set up our replica. You can configure one-way application, and you can also configure the two-way application. The meaning of two-way application means at the same time, if you make any changes, if you want to perform any changes, any task over a additional domain controller 2 or additional domain controller 1, the same changes will reflect to the root domain controller. So both options are available. Step by step, we are going to cover each and every topic. All right, so let's try to understand about the Intersite application. You know that, for example, this is our domain controller with same name. We establish one domain controller. The name of domain controller is cloud.com, and the cloud.com that we established in location of maybe Delhi. Okay, the domain controller we established in location of Delhi. You can consider this is your regional office RO, and you are trying to set up our branches in different geographical location. One branch you want to establish in location of Pune, right? This is our Pune branch, and the another branch I wanted to establish in location of Dubai. Try to set up one server in Pune location, one server I wanted to establish in Dubai location, because the number of employees are also working in Dubai location. Number of employees and setup we establish in location of Pune. So what you want to do that, I don't want to create a root domain controller for Pune branch and Dubai branch. I wanted to connect both the branches with our Delhi location, because Delhi is our regional office. So in this case, what you need to do, we are able to set up a site. I hope you guys are aware about the site 1 and site 2. So whenever we establish a different whenever we establish our server computer in different geographical location, consider as a site. So you can control your site, you can apply the group policy from your regional office, from your root domain controller. You can manage the changes, you can make any changes to our on-premises Dubai location based server with the help of our regional office domain controller. So when you have a multiple branches and you don't want to configure multiple root domain controllers, so that time the Intersite application come into the picture. And if we talk about the Intersite applications, which is work with between 0 to 180 minutes, this is the replication time. Means if you make any changes, if you want to perform any change, you want to change anything over a root domain controller, so it will take between 0 to 180 minutes to reflect in our different branches. All good, guys. I hope you guys, all of you, able to understand about the concept of intrasite replication and intrasite replication. Apart from the intersite and intrasite replication, you also need to know about the FSMO role, because the FSMO role considered as a backbone. Yes, FSMO role considered as a backbone of our domain controller or domain environment. FSMO role is categorized in two different parts. One is considered as a forest wide, yes, one forest wise, and another is domain wide. I'll guide you each and every option, like the work of each and every roles, because with the help of roles we are able to perform the troubleshooting related to our domain controller. Forest wide, schema master, and number second, domain naming master. Okay, schema master and domain naming master, two different types of roles are available in forest wide. And if we talk about domain wide, so PD simulator. The second one is RID pool manager, and number 5 infrastructure master, right? 5 different FSMO roles you will find whenever we establish a replication of our domain controller. And as a system administrator, it's our responsibility. We should know about the use cases of each and every domain controller, that each and every FSMO roles. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the procedure how to establish our additional domain controller for this particular task. This is my primary domain, the root domain controller that I established, right? This is cloud.com that I installed on server 2022. And if you want to set up a copy of same domain controller, if you want to create a copy of your existing root domain controller, you want to replicate all the services to another machine, to another service that work as a backup, that work as a load balancer. So what you need to do, first of all, I'm going to create one more virtual machine, right? Right click virtual machine and select your type of operating system. So definitely same version of operating system you need to install, server 2022 and ADC live. Okay, next, no need to do anything. Hardware, I'm going to provide 8 gig of RAM to our additional domain controller as well. Put it into the NAT and provide 60 gig is enough, and let me turn on it. Basic steps required to install our server operating system, second server operating system, because the second machine we are going to use as a additional domain controller. We are trying to perform the task of how to set up intrasite replication, because within the organization, whenever we establish our domain within the organization, within the environment, which is considered as a intrasite replication. So server operating system, server 2022, because the existing domain controller that we established, which is running in server 2022. Let me restart and okay, boot from CD and DVD. So you know that we just mount the server 2022 operating system in the same virtual machine. So that's why we just need to select and proceed. Installation is in progress. So let me install it properly, and after that we'll guide you about how to manage. Second server machine is also ready to use. We successfully installed another server 2022, and we are going to use the new virtual machine that I established. We are going to use as additional domain controller. We are still on page of intra-admin center, Intrasite application. We are trying to establish Intrasite application. So what are the prerequisites? What are the steps required? So first of all, you need to collect some information from your existing domain controller, right? This one is our root domain controller, and you know that the domain that we established with name of cloud.com. I'm going to open CMD and identify the IP address of our primary domain controller. Type ipconfig 192.168.152.175. This is the IP address. We are using VMware Workstation 17 Pro, and both the machines are available in NAT configuration. So same IP address I need to provide to our additional domain controller that I'm going to create additional domain controller. So type ncpa.cpl. It will redirect you on the page of Ethernet properties, and go to the IPv4 and provide the IP address 192.168.152.174. Okay, so 175 is the IP address of our root domain controller, and 174 that I'm going to configure for our additional domain controller. 192.168.152.1, this is the gateway, and you must need to provide preferred DNS address 192.168.152.175. This is the root domain controller IP address. Consider as a preferred DNS. 8.8.8, because we don't have any additional domain controller, so that is why we just need to proceed with 8.8.8. Let me try to convert it. sysdm.cpl. Okay, you just need to type sysdm.cpl, click on change and make it member of domain controller. ADC2, and the domain name is cloud.com, and hit enter. Okay, so provide username and password of our existing domain controller and convert it. Guys, this is very first step that you need to perform if you are trying to set up additional domain controller in the environment. This is the first step that we need to use, and after that we are going to perform the additional task. Okay. Still is in progress. Wait for a few more minutes. Welcome to the cloud.com. Mandatory, you must need to restart it. Close, your system will restart. Once we turn on it again, once we like at the restart and complete it, we'll install the ADDS role, and then we'll promote it as a additional domain controller, not as a root domain controller or not as a child domain controller. Shutting down, wait for a few more minutes. And meanwhile, let me check how many users are currently running with our root domain controller. Open run and type dsa.msc. It will redirect you on the page of Active Directory Domain Services. Click on user, Tata, Telnet, GCP, right? These Alibaba, 4 different users are available in our existing root domain controller. So whenever we establish our additional domain controller and replicate the services, you will get the all users on our additional domain controller. Plus the group policy that you have already configured with our existing root domain controller, the group policy will also replicate to the additional domain controller. Okay, everything is good. Like, I'm going to log in with root account. Definitely you must need to log in with the root account, and simple steps required to configure additional domain controller to replicate the services. We are on page of server manager dashboard. We just need to click on add role and features, next, and select ADDS, right, Active Directory Domain Services. So you need to install this particular role, because with the help of this particular role, we are going to establish our additional domain controller. You are trying to configure a child domain controller, or in types of sites that you want to create, GC you want to create, you must need to install this role. Installation is in progress. Meanwhile, let me know if you have any question or doubt. You can drop a comment. Definitely I'll reach out to your comment and definitely give you the proper solution. Still in progress. Wait for a few more minutes. Okay, let me identify the number of group policy that I have already configured in our root domain controller. gpmc.msc. This is the shortcut keys that you can use to open the group policy management wizard. Control panel option and map network drive, two different policies we successfully configured on our existing root domain controller. Back to the additional domain controller, role is successfully installed. Click on promote this server to the domain controller, and it will redirect on the page of promotion. A number of options are available. Add a domain controller to an existing domain, add a domain controller to existing forest, and the last one is related to the new forest. Definitely we don't want to create a new forest in the environment, so select the first one. Add a domain controller to an existing domain, because we are trying to set up a replica of our existing domain controller. So what you need to do, we just need to click on change. It will redirect you on the page of approval, where we can provide the username and password of our root domain controller. Hit enter for approval purpose. Click next. No need to do anything. It will automatically capture the all information that required to set up an additional domain controller or to set up an application. It will capture all the information. Yes, we need to provide DSRM. Definitely, I wanted to create our additional domain controller with the feature of DNS and GC. I wanted to make it GC. We'll talk about the RODC, why, in which case we need to establish RODC. Click next, next. It will identify the files from our existing environment. Next, this is all the folders automatically create. Next, uninstall. Guys, these all are the steps required to